this lesson, using Cinema 4D, we're going to learn how to model the mascot part of the Learning Fever logo. So open the project file provided in the course material, go to the File menu, select Open, then select LF 3D Logo 02. Now go to the front view. In the viewport menus, go to View, View 4. Now the first step is to create a sphere. Go to the Objects menu, scroll down to Primitive and select Sphere. Now we can resize and position that object by dragging the handles for the radius and the center, or we can simply go to the Attributes Manager and dial in 60 meters in the radius field. To make it look smoother, we're going to add more segments, enter 36, and in the Coordinates Manager in the Position X field enter 0, and in the Position Y field enter 175 meters. Okay, now we're going to draw a triangle. Go to Objects, Create Spline, and select Linear, and draw around the triangle in the logo, point by point, returning back to where you started. You can see now that the Use Point tool is selected. So with the first point highlighted, go to the Coordinates Manager, and we'll tidy up our triangle by entering minus 19 meters in the X field and 138 meters in the Y field. The second point will be 40 meters by 172, and the third point will be minus 19 by 206. Now go back to the Use Model tool and Live Selection, and in the Objects Manager, name that object Triangle Spline. Go to the top view, which is View 2, and in the Coordinates Manager enter minus 70 meters in the Z field to bring the triangle out to the front of the sphere. Go to View 1 and you can see that our triangle is sitting right where we want it. The next step is to turn that triangle into a prism. So go to Objects, scroll down to NURBS, select Extrude NURBS, and name that extrude object Triangle. In the Attributes Manager, enter 30 meters in the Z movement field, and in the Objects Manager, drag the triangle spline onto the triangle object. And you can see here we have a prism sticking out of our sphere. What we want to do now is remove that triangle from the sphere, kind of carve it out. So go to Objects, Modeling, and select Boole. Name that Boolean object Head, close the triangle object, and drag it onto the head object. Then drag the sphere object onto the head object. And you can see the result here, it's carved out nicely from the sphere. So in the Objects Manager, click on the head object, and you can see in the Attributes Manager, the Boolean type is A subtract B, which is sphere minus triangle. Now let's go back to the front view so we can start modeling our hat. The first step is to create a cylinder. Go to the Objects menu, scroll down to Primitive, and select Cylinder. Now we can move it by hand by dragging the handles for the center, the height, and the diameter, or we can go to the Attributes Manager, and with the Object tab highlighted, enter a radius of 60 meters and a height of 45 meters. Then click on the Caps tab, and to round the corners tick Fillet and enter a radius of 2 meters. In the Coordinates Manager, we'll position that at 0 by 222. Now we're going to create a couple of rectangle objects for the hat. So go to Objects, Primitive, Cube, and in the Attributes Manager we're going to make the top part of the hat 145 meters wide, 5 meters high, and 145 meters deep. Tick Fillet and round the edges with a radius of 2 meters. And we're going to position it at 245 meters on the y-axis so that it sits just above the cylinder. Now before we rotate it diagonally, we're going to add the ribbon, this little white part of the hat. So go to Objects, Primitive, Cube, name Cube 1 Ribbon, and in the Attributes Manager we'll make it 15 meters wide, 35 meters high, and 2 meters deep. The coordinates for that ribbon are minus 10, 230, and minus 72. Now before we rotate the hat into position, we want to group those elements. While holding down the Shift key, select Ribbon, Cube, and Cylinder. Go to the Objects menu and select Group Objects. Now that's created a null object that contains all the elements inside. Name that null object hat, and then close down the head object. Now with the hat object selected, we need to position its axis with the center of the head. To do that, select the Use Object Axis tool, and in the Coordinates Manager enter 0 in the Position X field, 175 in the Y field, and 0 in the Z field. And in the Rotation Heading field, enter -45 degrees, so that when we rotate it back to 0, it'll sit diagonally. Now go back to the Use Model tool and select the side view, which is view 3. In the Rotation Heading field, enter 0 degrees. That rotates the hat diagonally, and enter -17 degrees in the Pitch field, and that tilts the hat back nicely. Now let's view that in 3D. Go to View, View 1. And while holding down the 1 key, I can pan in the viewport. I can zoom with the 2 key, and track with the 3 key. So save your project, and in our next lesson we're going to learn how to add colour and texture and lighting.